Anda sedang mendengarkan UT Radio, Open Education Station for All.
Duh, udah mana mau ujian, belajar gak ngerti-ngerti lagi. Pusing. Wah, apa nih? Tutorial radio. Cek kali aja ada materi yang aku ngerti.
Wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua, UT listeners dimanapun Anda berada. Senang sekali saya Kak Ardini kembali menemani Anda kali ini dalam program tutorial radio UT Radio Open Education Station for All. Dan kita mau bahas terkait dengan why should we teach English to young learners. Dan ini diambil dari program studi pendidikan bahasa Inggris ya. Maka dari itu di studio kami saat ini sudah ada Ibu Hidayah SPD MPD atau kita panggil Mrs. Hidayah ya. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm so fine so far.
Okay. So today we will talk about why should we teach English to young learner. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. This topic from what material?
From BMP, from book who are the student have right now. There is teaching English to young learner who has a code SPBI4407.
Oke. Dan UT listeners, untuk Anda yang barangkali punya pertanyaan, boleh ya Anda sampaikan melalui Instagram kami @radio.ut atau juga melalui kolom komentar YouTube Universitas Terbuka TV. Dan Mrs. Hidayah ini one of the lecturers in the English Education Department ya, UT listeners. Okay, so we are beginning the discussion on teaching English to young learners as a global trend. Mrs. Hidayah, a very engaging topic, especially for students of the English Education Study Program who are currently taking the course teaching English to young learners. So, Mrs. Hidayah, could you please explain what is meant by teaching English to young learners as a global trend?
All right, Mrs. Eka. You still okay. I want to for the next slide. You still doubtful for teaching English for young learner has become a global trend. Look at the chart in here. The research carried out by Karen and Copeland here that there is English language. It's become a global trend. Because the research of here carried out by that English subject has been introduced into elementary school curricula in many countries. In addition, there were more than 4,400 English young learner teachers in 2013 has been delivered that the introduction of English at the primary school that is an important policy development in education. After research also indicate that teaching English to young learner has been a global trend due to the practical need that English is spoken more speakers in the world. It have been stated by Ethnology 21st edition, and so learning English since early age will prepare and equip learner for international communication, Ms. Eka.
Okay, so based on this chart, we can see the highest, top 10 most spoken languages. The highest is English, is it right? So
right.
Teaching English to young learner as global trend.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Top 10 most spoken language in, on 2030. Yeah?
Okay, and English is the first stage, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So, Miss Hidayah, how is the teaching of English implemented in Asian countries, particularly in developing nations, and what challenges and opportunities that it present?
All right, Miss Eka. Teaching English to young learner is expanding across several Asian countries. Notably here, for example, in Thailand, it's an important means for global communication, educational progress, and future employment. Thailand has incorporated English into the primary curriculum to develop student communicative abilities early on. So I have, for example, in Thailand, this right here, you can click the student, the example for teacher, for the teacher tips for teaching English in Thai student 2025 there. So the government has introduced English to the young learner in Thailand, and so in Vietnam. In Vietnam too has invested in the teacher training program and curriculum reform to strengthen English proficiency among young learners, recognizing the importance of English economic and cultural integration within the Asia community. So, the English commonly offered as local content in primary school. Despite uneven resources, a varied teacher expertise, and regional disparities, there is growing interest in communicative, student-centered approaches that help children use English as a practical, everyday skill, Ms. Eka. Overall, the regional growth of teaching English to young learners reflect shared effort to ready younger generation for global engagement by improving policy, pedagogy, and access to English learning for further study. So, for the student, please review that all those links, for example, in Thailand, Vietnam, and Thailand in Indonesia, also. That to broaden your knowledge, of course, and supplementary learning material, you can access the link in the slide below.
Okay, so those are the several example of Thailand and Vietnam, right? So how about in Indonesia, Mrs. Hidayah? We want to know about teaching English to young learners in Indonesia.
All right, Miss Eka. In Indonesia, was first introduced to teaching English to young learner, or TAYL, in the 1990s. Here is in Indonesia, there are several contexts, like national context, literacy, cultural context, trans language, and teacher education context here. So the ideas spark mixed reaction, including objection, disagreement, curiosity, and positive responses toward teaching a foreign language to children in Indonesia. So, teaching English to young learners has faced both acceptance and rejection due to several challenges. The main concern centered on the limited number, distribution of qualified TAYL teachers, as those with adequate knowledge and skill were mostly concentrated in big cities. Additionally, the lack of appropriate English textbooks made difficult for school in remote areas. So, to implement teaching English to young learners effectively, although improvement and innovation have been made in this field. So, now challenges have emerged, such as the influence of globalization, regionalization on teaching English to young learners, its role in literacy development, the cultural content of learning material, and the choice of language as a medium of instruction in TEL itself in the classroom, of course. These issues will be elaborated and discussed further in this unit. So the student have to read further the unit effectively and correctly.
Okay. Okay, before I ask the next question, I remind you, the listeners, TEL is teaching English to young learners, yeah. So TEL is teaching English to young learners. And so Miss Hidayah, the statement highlights the historical development and challenges of teaching English to young learners in Indonesia. It is clear that while the inclusion of TEL in the elementary school curriculum in 2004 represented a significant step forward, the implementation
that's
process
right.
has not been without obstacles also. The main issues, such as shortage of qualified teachers, the unequal distribution of competent instructors between urban and rural areas, and the lack of appropriate teaching materials, and then illustrate structural challenges that persist in Indonesia's educational landscape. So, after the student learned the material, what are general competences they will have?
Of course. Having learned the material, the module, students are expected to achieve the following general competencies. First, to be able to identify the challenges of teaching English to young learner in Indonesian at the present, of course. And second, to be able to select appropriate teaching English to young learner theories to be implemented in their actual context.
Oh, nice, yeah. I
Yes.
see. And then what kind of theories to be implemented in their actual context?
All right, there are some contexts to implement in Indonesia. Start from first, national context. Second one, literacy or gerakan literasi sekolah.
Okay,
as
in
we know,
bahasa.
as we know in bahasa, right? The third one, cultural context. Fourth, trans language, and last, teacher education.
Okay, so we will discuss one by one, Mrs.
Yes.
Hidayah, and then after we know those kind of contacts, can you explain what is that for each contact mean?
Oh, sure. We can start from the first one.
National
There is
context,
national
okay.
context, right? Indonesia is one of the most linguistically diverse countries in the world, within 707 living language and Javanese spoken by over 100 million people. Despite this diversity, Bahasa Indonesia serve as national language and lingua franca, right? Most Indonesian are bilingual or multilingual. The Indonesian people, as we know, can speak Indonesian language, Sundanese language, or Javanese language, as we know, or Bataknese, or the others. Yeah. So this raised question about whether introducing English at an early age. That's why provide aid, benefit, or risk interfering with first and national language development and how young learners process multiple languages in their brains. So, in the early age, we have to taught them as quiet as possible. It's much better for them, for the young learner. And for the literacy point of view here, literacy in Indonesian is still challenged with the gerakan literasi sekolah in national literacy movement launched in 2014 to improve reading habits and literacy rates. However, the school often struggle with limited resources, engaging activities. So, for 15 years old are at or below the baseline level of literacy, introducing English at an early age can potentially improve literacy because bilingualism enhance brain flexibility and motivate learner to read. Parental support at home, culture of learning also play a key role in developing strong reading habits and literacy skill. The third one, there is cultural contents. Cultural content is a key issue on Thai is cultural representation in English textbook. For example, Thai learners struggle when textbooks reflect only Western cultures. Research suggests that materials should balance three cultural elements, like source culture, it means by learners' own culture, target culture, it means culture of English-speaking countries, international culture, in a global culture. English young learner teachers can adapt teaching material to integrate this cultural perspective, ensuring learner build cultural awareness while maintaining their identity. And the fourth one, there is trans language. The medium of instruction in teaching English to young learner is debated. Should teacher use more English, Indonesian, or a mix translanguaging or bilingual or trilingual? Translanguaging allow learner to receive input in one language and respond in another. Supporting bilingual or multilingual development in Indonesia, where classroom often include children from various linguistic background, deciding on the right balance English, Indonesian, and local language is crucial for effective teaching. And the last one, from teacher education. In Indonesia, as we know, teachers are required to have 4 competencies: professional, pedagogical, social, and personal. For teaching English to young learner, as we know, Thayul pedagogical competency is especially important, but teacher must balance all 4. So this structure and consistent approach help young learner feel secure and engaged in the learning process, Miss Eka.
Okay, Miss Adaya, thank you so much for the explanation, and we must have non-commercial break before we continue to talk about the issue that related to teaching English to young learner in session 2. Ya, udah listeners jangan kemana-mana, tetap bersama kami di UT Radio, Open Education Station for All.
Anda sedang mendengarkan UT Radio, Open Education Station for All.
Setiap hari selalu kuawali dengan yang aku mau. Bebas tapi bertanggung jawab, fleksibel tapi pasti. Hari-hariku dipenuhi dengan semangat untuk kuliah dan meraih profesi. Karena aku mampu mandiri, UT menempaku untuk mandiri. UT memberiku kesempatan belajar kapan dan di mana saja. Dan tentu saja bisa mengelola waktu untuk belajar dan bekerja. Hingga kini, aku mampu meraih profesiku. Menyenangkan, dan aku siap meraih prestasi yang terbaik. Gimana dengan kamu? Kemandirian ciri khas utama kami. Ya cuma UT yang bisa begini.
Saya benar-benar yakin bahwa masa depan Indonesia itu bertumpu pada universitas terbuka ini. Tidak mungkin ada revolusi pendidikan tanpa teknologi, dan sekarang universitas yang sudah full online, full teknologi ya universitas terbuka. Ya semoga universitas terbuka ini semakin berkembang, amin, semakin baik ke depannya. karena benar-benar untuk bisa meningkatkan skill dari seluruh lulusan SMA di Indonesia yang banyak sekali, itu ya paling mudah dan paling scalable itu ya melalui online. Sesuatu yang tidak mungkin bisa terjadi tanpa adanya teknologi. Dan universitas terbuka itu adalah a key player in this, di higher education.
Sayur-sayur.
Harga-harga sekarang pada mahal.
Tiap hari masuknya kangkung terus.
Lihat tuh, udah jadi PNS. Padahal kuliah aja enggak. Pasti sarjananya beli.
Dia kan gak pernah kelihatan pergi kuliah. Tiba-tiba udah ada gelar SIP. Permisi.
Ibu-ibu ketinggalan berita nih. Dia kan kuliahnya di universitas terbuka. Kuliahnya bisa di mana aja, kapan aja, kampusnya negeri, biayanya kagak mahal. Kalau kata anak saya nih, fleksibel.
Kok abang tahu UT?
Ya tahu dong, anak saya yang nomor 1 PNS guru, lulusan UT. Nah yang nomor 2 sekarang udah semester 5.
Wah hebat abang ini, jualan sayur anaknya kuliah semua.
UT itu kan mahasiswanya beragam, dari mulai kalangan elit sampai ekonomi sulit kayak saya. Kuliah di mana aja dan kapan aja, cuma UT yang bisa begini.
Selamat datang di Universitas Terbuka. Kali ini aku akan mengajak kamu untuk virtual campus tour di Universitas Terbuka. Universitas Terbuka atau UT memiliki kantor pusat di Pondok Cabe, Tangerang Selatan, serta 39 unit program belajar jarak jauh atau UPBJJ yang tersebar di seluruh Indonesia. Dalam rangka mendukung layanan kepada mahasiswa, berbagai sarana dan prasarana dibangun dan terus ditingkatkan kualitasnya. Ayo kita mulai. Di kantor pusat, terdapat gedung fakultas yang merupakan jantung dari pengembangan produk akademik UT. Gedung fakultas telah dilengkapi dengan sarana dan prasarana untuk mendukung kenyamanan bekerja. Terdapat 4 fakultas di Universitas Terbuka dan 1 sekolah pasca sarjana. Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Fakultas Sains dan Teknologi, Fakultas Hukum, Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, dan Fakultas Ekonomi, serta Sekolah Pasca Sarjana. Gedung fakultas memiliki sarana dan prasarana yang terstandar yang terdiri dari masing-masing fakultas menempati 2 lantai. 1 lantai diperuntukkan untuk ruang layanan mahasiswa, ruang konsultasi mahasiswa, ruang dekan, ruang wakil dekan, ruang kepala bagian tata usaha, ruang tenaga kependidikan, dan ruang sidang. Ruang sidang dilengkapi dengan fasilitas video conference yang digunakan untuk rapat koordinasi dengan dosen yang tersebar di UPBJJ, serta ujian sidang untuk mahasiswa pasca sarjana. Ruang dosen menempati 1 lantai yang terdiri dari ruang sidang, ruang dosen, ruang ketua jurusan, dan ruang ketua program studi. Masing-masing lantai dilengkapi dengan ruang makan, musola, dan toilet yang nyaman dan bersih. Masing-masing dosen dan tenaga kependidikan memiliki kubikel sebagai ruang kerja. Kubikel ini berukuran 2 kali 1,5 meter. Setiap kubikel dilengkapi dengan komputer yang telah terinstall Microsoft 365 yang berlisensi. Untuk mendukung layanan kepada mahasiswa, Universitas Terbuka juga memiliki beberapa sarana dan prasarana pendukung sebagai berikut. Pusat Produksi Multimedia merupakan unit pelaksana teknis yang bertugas untuk memproduksi bahan ajar. Gedung ini dilengkapi dengan peralatan produksi materi-materi dalam bentuk video dan audio. Produksi materi cetak juga diproduksi di sini dengan menggunakan peralatan dan software terkini. Pusat Layanan Bahan Ajar merupakan unit pelaksana teknis yang bertugas untuk melakukan distribusi bahan ajar. Gedung ini dilengkapi sarana dan prasarana untuk menyimpan dan pengemasan bahan ajar dan bahan ujian. Pusat Layanan Pustaka atau Puslata. UPT Puslata melayani penyediaan bahan-bahan pustaka bagi mahasiswa dan dosen. Puslata mengelola penyediaan bahan-bahan pustaka baik dalam bentuk hard copy maupun koleksi digital. Koleksi digital yang dikelola melalui Perpustakaan Digital UT. Perpustakaan Digital UT menyediakan layanan akses bahan ajar melalui ruang baca virtual. Di sini juga dapat diakses berbagai sumber pembelajaran terbuka.
Terima kasih Anda masih bersama kami dalam program tutorial Radio UT Radio Open Education Station for All, and still with Mrs. Hidayah SPD MPD, and we will continue our discussion about why should we teach English to young learners. Dan seperti yang saya sampaikan tadi bahwa sebelum break nih kita mau bahas nih tentang isu-isu yang berkaitan dengan teaching English to young learners ya, Miss Hidayah. So, could you explain about the issue that related to teaching English to young learners?
Of course, that's a really good question. Let's see for the sixth slide here about issue related to teaching English to young learner. There are 8 debate, motivation, and the use of technology here. Maybe you may have different answer related to those issues, and this subchapter will bring you to deeper discussion related to them. Right?
Okay.
We will focus on the debate, age debate. What age we should teach young learners, motivation, and the use of technology. So, on teaching English to young learner often center on whether children should begin learning English during their golden age.
Okay.
Golden age. On the other hand, young learners are believed to acquire language more easily and even sound like native speaker. On the other hand, some worries this may hinder their social development and interfere with mastering their first and national language. So there is a matter. They are learning their mother tongues while they have to learn international language like English. First language, second language, and we still call it international language or second language acquisition or foreign language. We still call an English language in our country as our second language, or not second language. Even we call it as still foreign language.
Okay.
As a foreign language. So in next slides, in 7th slide here, there are 3 main perspectives explain this issue. One, language acquisition device. There is stated by Chomsky proposed that children are born with an innate mental capacity to acquire language, including grammar rules. While influential, this theory has been criticized for lack of clarify about universal grammar and how errors are processed. The second one, second language acquisition or SLA, stated by Crescent. The other highlight how learners acquire the second language. Many of believe children are more effective learners than adults, as they can quickly expand vocabulary and process input naturally. Still, age-related factors. There are some studies show that older learner can sometimes be more efficient in classroom setting. It must be classroom setting as much as possible for older learner. And the third one, from the critical period hypothesis point of view here, this theory suggests there are limited window to achieve native-like competence. However, this suggesting that exposure, quality of input and environment may matter more than age itself. So the conclusion here we can get, there is no solid evidence that starting earlier always guarantees better second language outcomes. Instead, the quality of input, learning environment, and the support of teacher and parents play much greater role in children's success in acquiring a second language, of course.
Okay, so after you explain about the whole that important in teaching English to young learners, the question is, Mrs. Hidayah, why is teaching English to young learners considered important in Asia countries such as Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia?
Such as Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. All right. Why teaching English to young learners still considered important in Asian countries? Teaching English to young learner is important because English serves as a global language for communication, education, and career opportunities. By learning English early, children can develop communicatively competence that help them in their future studies and participation in a globalized world. And those countries like Thailand, Vietnam have integrated English into their curricula, while Indonesia still developing for Thai itself, showing that the region recognizes English as a key to competitiveness in an international context, of course.
Okay, so Mrs. Hidayah, is it okay to introduce foreign language to the children in their golden age?
Yes, of course.
Okay, because some say that don't give the children with the mixed language because they will confuse to get no information, or after that maybe they have a problem with language or with their daily activity, daily conversation, because you introduce the mixed language to them. So
there's no problem at all. But it's such a good point that we have to give as much as possible the vocabulary to the golden age or young learner in the golden age. That why they have catch that vocabulary naturally.
Okay.
More naturally, more than the adult, adult learner, of course.
Because someone said that the young learner is a fast learner than adult learners. Okay. Okay. So another question: what are the main challenges in implementing TAIL in Indonesia?
The challenges include maybe the first one, it's limited number of qualified teacher with proper in teaching English to young learner training. Second problem is uneven distribution of competent teacher, with most concentrated in the big cities. Lack of suitable and culturally relevant teaching material, and especially for their textbook maybe, and diverse regional contexts, which make implementation inconsistent across the school. Despite this issue, Indonesia is moving forward communicative and student-centered teaching approaches. Just like that.
Okay. To be honest, I'm really disappointed with myself in my experience because I got English in the fourth grade of elementary school, but it not from my school because I took a course in because
Same with other people.
the past education there is no English in the elementary
English
school.
requirement.
Okay, so how does TEL relate to literacy development in Indonesia?
Yes. TEL relate to literacy development in Indonesia. Introducing English in an early age can support literacy development because bilingualism and multilingualism improve brain flexibility in processing language. In addition, English classes may motivate children to engage with reading activities. Maybe it can combine with the Gerakan Literasi Sekolah, school literacy movement, and teaching English to young learner can contribute to raising literacy level in Indonesia, which is essential given that PISA data shows that many students still struggle with basic reading competition.
Okay.
That's why it's our problem in Indonesia.
Yeah, and then sometimes the obstacle is not come from the students, but also from the teacher, right?
Yes.
So maybe the next discussion will talk about what should teacher consider when selecting cultural content
Yes.
For TEL materials, but we must have a break before we continue
That's
our
right,
discussion
that's
ya.
right.
Oke, udah listeners dimanapun Anda berada, jangan kemana-mana. Nanti di segmen 2 seperti yang tadi saya sampaikan nih, kita mau bahas tentang what should teacher consider when selecting cultural content for TEL materials. So don't go anywhere. Dan jangan kemana-mana, tetap bersama kami di UT Radio, Open Education Station for All.
Anda sedang mendengarkan UT Radio, Open Education Station for All.
Saya benar-benar yakin bahwa masa depan Indonesia itu bertumpu pada universitas terbuka ini. Tidak mungkin ada revolusi pendidikan tanpa teknologi, dan sekarang universitas yang sudah full online, full teknologi ya universitas terbuka. Ya semoga universitas terbuka ini semakin berkembang, amin, semakin baik ke depannya, karena benar-benar untuk bisa meningkatkan skill dari seluruh lulusan SMA di Indonesia yang banyak sekali, itu ya paling mudah dan paling scalable itu ya melalui online. Sesuatu yang tidak mungkin bisa terjadi tanpa adanya teknologi. Dan universitas terbuka itu adalah a key player in this, di higher education.
Sayur-sayur. Harga-harga sekarang pada mahal.
Tiap hari masuknya kangkung terus.
Lihat tuh, udah jadi PNS. Padahal kuliah aja enggak. Pasti sarjananya beli.
Dia kan gak pernah kelihatan pergi kuliah. Tiba-tiba udah ada gelar SIP. Permisi.
Ibu-ibu ketinggalan berita nih. Dia kan kuliahnya di universitas terbuka. Kuliahnya bisa di mana aja, kapan aja, kampusnya negeri, biayanya kagak mahal. Kalau kata anak saya nih, fleksibel.
Kok abang tahu UT?
Ya tahu dong, anak saya yang nomor 1 PNS guru, lulusan UT. Nah yang nomor 2 sekarang udah semester 5.
Wah hebat abang ini, jualan sayur anaknya kuliah semua.
UT itu kan mahasiswanya beragam, dari mulai kalangan elit sampai ekonomi sulit kayak saya. Kuliah di mana aja dan kapan aja, cuma UT yang bisa begini.
Selamat datang di Universitas Terbuka. Kali ini aku akan mengajak kamu untuk virtual campus tour di Universitas Terbuka. Universitas Terbuka atau UT memiliki kantor pusat di Pondok Cabe, Tangerang Selatan, serta 39 unit program belajar jarak jauh atau UPBJJ yang tersebar di seluruh Indonesia. rangka mendukung layanan kepada mahasiswa, berbagai sarana dan prasarana dibangun dan terus ditingkatkan kualitasnya. Ayo kita mulai. Di kantor pusat, terdapat gedung fakultas yang merupakan jantung dari pengembangan produk akademik UT. Gedung fakultas telah dilengkapi dengan sarana dan prasarana untuk mendukung kenyamanan bekerja. Terdapat 4 fakultas di Universitas Terbuka dan 1 sekolah pasca sarjana. Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, Fakultas Sains dan Teknologi, Fakultas Hukum, Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, dan Fakultas Ekonomi, serta Sekolah Pasca Sarjana. Gedung fakultas memiliki sarana dan prasarana yang terstandar yang terdiri dari masing-masing fakultas menempati 2 lantai. 1 lantai diperuntukkan untuk ruang layanan mahasiswa, ruang konsultasi mahasiswa, ruang dekan, ruang wakil dekan, ruang kepala bagian tata usaha, ruang tenaga kependidikan, dan ruang sidang. Ruang sidang dilengkapi dengan fasilitas video conference yang digunakan untuk rapat koordinasi dengan dosen yang tersebar di UPBJJ, serta ujian sidang untuk mahasiswa pasca sarjana. Ruang dosen menempati 1 lantai yang terdiri dari ruang sidang, ruang dosen, ruang ketua jurusan, dan ruang ketua program studi. Masing-masing lantai dilengkapi dengan ruang makan, musola, dan toilet yang nyaman dan bersih. Masing-masing dosen dan tenaga kependidikan memiliki kubikel sebagai ruang kerja. Kubikel ini berukuran 2 x 1,5 meter. Setiap kubikel dilengkapi dengan komputer yang telah terinstal Microsoft 365 yang berlisensi. Untuk mendukung layanan kepada mahasiswa, Universitas Terbuka juga memiliki beberapa sarana dan prasarana pendukung sebagai berikut.
Terima kasih Anda masih bersama kami dalam program tutorial Radio UT Radio Open Education Station for All, and still with Mrs. Hidayah. And so let me continue about our discussion, Miss Hidayah. And then the question is, how does, and then what should teacher consider when selecting cultural content for tale materials?
All right, English young learner teachers should ensure that materials represent 3 cultural dimensions. The first one is such culture, like Indonesian culture or local culture. This is the example in English language learning talking about tradition such as Lebaran, gotong royong, wayang, batik, or local food in English.
Rendang.
Yes, for example, a student may learn how to describe rendang or sate in English.
Okay.
That the purpose of that learning is to help students express their cultural identity in English, to build pride in their own culture while preparing them to share Indonesian culture with others. The second one is target culture, English speaking and culture. The target culture refers to the culture English speaking countries such as United States, United Kingdom, Australia, or Canada, or New Zealand itself. They have to discussing traditional like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween, and daily life in cities, and their cities such as London or New York. Using reading text or video that can introduce communication style, how they have like social habits in English speaking people. The purpose to help students understand social norms, expression, and cultural context behind an English people, to enable them to communicate more appropriately with native speaker or when engaging with authentic English material. And the third one, international culture, global culture. The global culture here, culture refers to a global culture that cross national boundaries, not limited to Indonesian English-speaking countries. For example, in English language learning, there such as pop music, international sport, global environment issues, that internet culture, fast food or Hollywood K-pop movies. For example, we have to allow them to see those videos I have given, for example, in a global issue like climate change, world peace, or human rights. There is to provide students with intercultural competence so they can communicative with people from many countries. So just native English speaker, just like them, to foster a global perspective, preparing to be active member of the international community. This balance help students appreciate their own identity while understanding English, a global language itself. If textbook only reflect Western culture, learner may face difficulties if we can take from the textbook only.
Okay.
So teacher need to adapt material creatively to include local and international perspective. That's why.
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have any experience to teach young learners. But in my class, speaking English is mandatory because I teach basic acting, drama production by using English.
To introduce ourselves in the first to reach their vocabulary to the young learners.
Okay. So the question, Mrs. Hidayah, what teaching approach can be effective in multilingual EYL classroom in Indonesia?
All right. English young learner classroom in Indonesia have to be a translanguaging approach can be effective, where learner receive input in one language, for example in English, but can respond using another language, or like Indonesian or their mother tongues. They can receive their English language, but they can replay by their mother tongue or Indonesian language. Now, this approach respects student multilingual background, build a positive experience for them, and support comprehension. However, teacher need to balance English use local language to maintain effective learning outcome. Learning for their outcome.
Okay, yeah. So we can continue the question from UT listeners.
Yes,
and
of course.
I have seen in YouTube Universitas Terbuka TV ya, ada Masiko Maharenu Hernanda Putra.
Alright.
The question is, so that is different with TESOL, right? So
TESOL?
maybe his question is, what is the differentiation between TESOL and TEYL? Yeah.
TEYL, as we know, teaching English to young learner, focus especially on teaching English to children. The age around 3 to 12 for their age. It is a branch of English language teaching that deals how kids acquire English, their developmental stage, child-centered teaching method like that. And TESOL is a broad field that covers teaching English to any non-native speaker, regardless for age. Children, it can be for children, it can be for teenager, even for adult. That include multiple contexts such as English ESL or English as a second language, often in English-speaking country. Now, differences between TESOL and TESOL itself from the characteristic to the learner itself. TESOL learner have shorter attention spans, learn best through by playing with them, by song, by reading stories or storytelling to the learner, to the young learner, by games and movement right then here. But we can say in using English, acquire language naturally as much as possible. So how they learn their first language naturally, by game, by playing, by song, and the other. They are need high level of motivation and engagement. While TESOL learner, maybe children, teenager, or adult, often have clearer learning goals, like academic success, for a career, for advancement, or for migration to abroad, to another country. So adult learner really more explicit grammar explanation and structured learning for TESOL. While TESOL, or teaching English for young learner, use child-centered, playful, interactive method. For TESOL, we have said for broader range for approaches depending on the learner age and purpose itself. May emphasis academic English for specific purposes, for example, business English or exam preparation, for example. They often includes explicit grammar instruction for formal skill development, like reading, writing, speaking, and listening itself. So, while TESOL have a managing classroom behavior and short attention spans, creating fun yet effective lessons, limited vocabulary for TESOL, developing literacy skill in both L1 and L2, while TESOL has meeting diverse learner needs, balancing cultural and linguistic diversity, addressing motivation like error in adult learner. In short, TESOL is subset of TESOL, focusing only to young children, while TESOL is like an umbrella term covering teaching English to all non-native speakers, including children, teenager, and adult in both English for second language or English as a foreign language context.
Okay, so that's different between TESOL and TESOL, ya. For Mr. Siko Maharanu Hernanda Putra, thank you so much for your question. And then Mbak Dewi Simamora, Ibu dosen cantik, thank you for the information. I hope I can apply it to the kids at home. Very important. Thank you Ibu cantik. Terima kasih juga Mbak Dewi Simamora ya. And then Helmalia, Mbak Helmalia, we are currently facing the biggest challenge as teachers in this country, especially as English teachers, which is both a foreign language and an international language.
Both.
Any comment?
Yes, I have. I don't have to to answer that the statement. I have just commented.
Oh, okay.
Just giving a comment. There is English teacher who live countries. English teacher who live here in Indonesia, where English considered as a foreign language, or EFL, such as Indonesia, face both unique challenges and opportunities. Unlike in countries where English is the first or second language, students in EFL context usually have limited exposure to English outside the classroom. This means that teacher become the main resource of language input, right? And their role is crucial in creating meaningful like learning opportunities. One challenge is that teacher must often give them bridge the gap between students' local culture and the global use of English. Answering that lesson have a relevant and motivating. So they also need to be creative in using available resources, since authentic linguistic material or environment may not always be easily accessible. On the other hand, teaching in English foreign language like our country allow teacher to design learning experience that contextually appropriate for the students. They can integrate local culture, student daily lives, and global issue into lessons, making English more meaningful. Moreover, English foreign language teacher often serve as a role model for their students.
Okay.
Like showing that English proficiency is achievable when without living in English-speaking country. In short, English teacher in foreign language country like us carry an important mission, not only to teach language but also to build up the students' confidence, cultural awareness, like readiness to engage with the global community itself.
Okay.
That's all, Miss Eka.
Okay, thank you for the comment, yeah. And then thank you so much for your opinion, Miss Helmalia. And even teaching English is the biggest challenge as a teachers, but I hope you are still keep being eager to teach English. Okay, the last one, Mbak Tengku Via. Hi Miss Hidayah, thank you for the explanation. Wishing you even greater success. Salam Gita Sutra. What is Gita Sutra, ya?
Salam Gita Sutra. Gita Sutra is a choir of UT.
Oh, okay. So you also one of the members?
Yes,
of
I'm one of a member
choir?
of Gita Sutra
Oh,
choir.
Gita Sutra choir.
Yes.
Okay, Miss Helmalia, thank you for the explanation, Miss. May God bless you. Thank you so much also, Miss Helmalia. Okay, Miss Hidayah, the last one is please draw conclusion about the whole topic that we have discussed in this tutorial radio.
Oh, sure. Sure, Miss Eka, my pleasure. We know that teaching English to young learners involves numerous challenges. Some argue that the earlier children begin learning as a second language, the more successful for they will be. However, many different factors influence this process, which can be examined through perspective such as the language acquisition device, the critical period hypothesis, and the zone of proximal development. Another key concern is learner motivation. Since children learn in ways that differ from adults, they require unique motivational strategies. Providing contextual and meaningful learning experiences is essential to keep them engaged. Technology also play a role, but its application must be purposeful, student-centered, and accessible to ensure it supports learning effectively. Finally, the teacher role is scaffolding. The learner process remains a crucial element in supporting young learner language development. That's it.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Hidayah, thank you so much for your time, for your insight. Bless your insight and bless your life. See you later.
See you later. Thank you very much.
Oke, listeners dimanapun Anda berada, demikian ya pembahasan di tutorial radio kami bersama dengan Mrs. Hidayah SPD MPD, dan kita sudah bahas banyak terkait dengan why should we teach English to young learners, dan saya Kardini pamit, sampai ketemu lagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.